Check 1 2 1 2.
That sounds good.
Whatever you do, don't walk in front of that speaker. Hot mic. Hey, come on up. Have a seat. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rutledge Wood from NBC Sports, Top Gear US. And here with my friends at Magnaflow. And I am joined by Jim Carson from Canada. He's from Bad Dog Mods, Black Stock Auto Design. Brad Barhorse from PSG Truck. Guys, we're just, the goal of today is really to talk about some of the history, some of the connection that you guys have to the industry. So, Jim, let's start with you. How did you get started in cars? How did you end up here? It's a big jump.
Yeah, that's a big jump, but I guess I got started like you did, building models when I was 8 years old, probably. But I was in the car business. I was working for a Ford dealer, and it was 1985. And we looked at the price book and went, Oh my God! Did you know you could order a 5-liter V8 for $1,500 in the LX and get rid of the radio and don't order power windows, and we could sell this car for $11,900, and that's kind of how it started.
So really, and at the time we know the GT was sort of like that was the king, but that LX was really, when it started, that sort of idea of the sleeper is really what you guys kind of started. And how did you guys reach, especially being in Canada, how did you convince people that the seemingly stripped down radioless LX was the way to go?
We went into a recording studio and we played screeching, burning tires and loud exhaust, and we just screamed 11.9, and the people just came in. It was lightning in the bottle, and man, this is like 35 years later, and I'm still trying to do it again, and I can't.
Now, are you still working with that same dealership in the stuff that you do?
No, I own my own dealership. I have for about the last 11 years, and about all that time we've been known as the Ford guys that customize, and I branched out and I built an off-site mod shop and didn't put blue and white on there so the Dodge and Chevy guys would come and see me, because you know they're not rolling into a Ford dealer for a MagnaFlow exhaust on that Cummins diesel. So that's what we did, and that's kind of how it's grown from there.
Wow. So Brad, how about you? How did you get started in the world of cars and trucks?
So my background would be auto collision, family-owned auto collision center. And of course, you know, we grew up with it. And as you're in the auto collision center, it can get a little mundane. So customers would come in and, you know, they'd ask for this, ask for that. And we traditionally offer those products. That spawned into a retail showroom, which spawned into, you know, trucks, and really that spawned into commercial, a lot of commercial work now. So we went from auto body to full retail, typical truck accessory, to commercial and fleet.
So it's interesting because you both started in an industry in one manner, but you've really both taken these directions that have gone to totally different ways. And it seems like for both of you, it was a way that found more of your passion through what you do. Because I'm not saying that people don't wake up and go, man, I can't wait to replace these fenders from this collision. But you found that through that opening, you could do all this other stuff. For you, what do you feel like is the most important part of what your business does?
Well, for me, the biggest thing would be, now in the commercial and fleet world, is give those large companies the ability to customize these trucks, these work trucks. And it's not as glamorous as, you know, superchargers and cool exhaust, but there's a lot of it out there, a lot of demand for it.
Sure. Jim, what about for you? You know, to start in the manner that you did and now to create these custom vehicles and all of the work you do, what do you think is the most important kind of connective tissue for what your company does?
Well, it's connecting with people who have passion. You know, it's Lebanon Ford in Ohio. I was on a plane, read a magazine article. These guys are selling a 2017 GT with 727 horsepower for $39,000 US. Somebody on my Facebook page says, haha, too bad you can't do that. And I started figuring out the currency exchange. I went, you pay me $39,000 US and you got a deal, man. So that's what we started doing. We just copied other people's success, I guess. And we keep guys like Brad in business fixing all those Mustangs smashing up.
Right? That's a great thing. What I think is really neat is to know that both of you, to start in this industry in such different ways, but to continue to grow and to dig and to find new ways for you to own your own dealership, for all of those things. What do you think is the most important part for you of your success when you look back at how far you've come?
Well, you know, last night with the guest speaker, Ken Schmidt, you know, he hit the nail on the head. It's about you've got to do more. You've got to connect to the consumer with passion. It's everybody has a 2019 Mustang for 700 horsepower. If they wanted to build one, you just buy the parts and do it. But you need authenticity, and you need to be representing quality brands like MagnaFlow, that people that, you know, I don't want to sell stuff on price. I want to sell quality, and I want it to be what people are expecting. So if you deliver that, then you let the rest take care of itself if you're patient.
That's really cool. Brad, what about for you? What do you think has been the key to your success and to see how far you've come?
It's by far networking and relationships. That's what it's all about. You know, you gotta get to know these people, give them what they want, earn their trust. They'll come back, they'll buy. And like you said, quality products. That's the kicker. If you can get them to buy the quality products, you know, they're happier in the end. And yeah, some guys are going to walk because you don't offer the cheaper of products, but
sure,
it's about that relationship. they come back.
And you guys have seen too that notion. I had a friend call me maybe a month ago and say, "Hey, I want to make my two-wheel drive F-150. I want to turn it into like a Raptor." And I didn't have a nice way of saying like, "Okay," but like that's there's no easy way to tell your friend who doesn't know that much about cars. So that's not really going to happen. But I can help you make your truck cooler. So I kind of walked him through. And I showed him some ideas. And then every time I would show him something like, well, here's a really quality part. Here's what I would do. Then he would come back and be like, well, yeah, but I found this one, and it's a no-name, and it's a third of the price. I was like, okay, well, let me send you some videos, because YouTube has a lot of those. It's a great resource for what happens. And I think everyone's been there at some point, and you try to say, you know what, I'll save a few bucks, and I'll go this other way. But y'all have seen so many times that you end up spending more money trying to fix those mistakes. And I think it's part of that learning process. It's stuff that we all do. What was the biggest kind of mistake when you were building something? Was there ever one time when you did something you thought, man, I would do anything if I could just reverse this one little part, this one idea, this one notion? Was there ever something that you tried that just didn't work out?
Yeah, they still bug me about it. I called it flex paint.
Flex paint.
And that was about 15 years ago, 12 years ago. I met a guy at the SEMA show that was laying urethane paint on calendar vinyl, and you could wrap your car with this real painted vinyl. I didn't count on somebody else having a much better idea than doing that. So so that was probably my biggest flop for sure.
What did you see it? Did you try it, and did it physically work in that way when it was?
Oh yeah, I convinced the company to change their name to Flex Paint and everything. And they were painting somewhere in Oklahoma where apparently they had absolutely no environmental laws on on whatever paints he was using. And used to lay that vinyl out, and you get the hairdryer out, and you'd get stoned off the fumes.
Oh my gosh, stuff. Right? Oh boy, that's okay, that's a good one. Brad, what about you? Was there ever something that you tried and thought, well, that was ambitious, but I came up a little bit short?
Yeah, I think we've all done it, where you're overpromise a potentially good account that you can pull something off.
Sure.
You can run back home and get on the internet, try to figure out how to do that, and found out you got in too deep. I've done that a few times and do regret, but you try to learn from that and don't do it again.
Yeah, I've been a little bit ambitious. On the other side, I want to hear, what do you think, if you look back at all of the cars and trucks you built, what is the one that you are most proud of, that you think speaks the closest to who you are and what it is that you do?
That's pretty easy, because they're here today. That's a company called Air Design, and I found them at the SEMA show in 2015, and they'd won a bunch of awards for Ford design. I come out with a truck. I like to give all my packages names that I can't be sued on, so I picked geographic regions, and this one was the Dakar package, and we used the body kit from Air Design, a leveling kit, wheels and tires, and then Anzo lights and MagnaFlow exhaust, or whatever it takes. But that's been pretty successful. And then when I see other dealers advertising a truck called the Dakar package, and I go, wait a minute, that's my name, right? So I still have the website Tundra Dakar and TacomaDakar.com. So those Toyota boys need to get on side with that.
I mean, I've got a Tundra at home. We can talk. I'll go look at it. Brad, what about for you? When you look at your projects, what is the one that you are most proud of over the years?
I would have to say, we landed some large cell phone company accounts where they did mobile cell phone sales, and I think we did 15 or 20 of those, and they went nationwide. And when we look it up online, you'll see some of our trucks out there, and they were just box truck builds. You took box truck, cut them up, put retail stores inside them, and that was a really cool deal, and I think it worked for them. So that was mine.
That's awesome. Well, you guys, it's so cool to hear your passion. It comes through in all of the stuff that you guys talk about, to see where you've come from, and what I think is so special when you're at a show like this and you see people that probably remind you a lot of you when you were 19, when you were 18, when you were 25, and thinking about, man, how can I be at that level? It's so impressive to see you guys here and to still have that passion, still have that drive. Where do you think we're going to go in the future? Like, what do you feel like is going to be the next thing that you really focus on coming up?
Well, I'd like to know how MagnaFlow is going to make an electric engine sound cool. I'd like to figure out how we're going to do that. But, so we know electric cars are coming, but I would say, you know, that right now, 2019, you tell me why 1969 was any better than right now. And if you're a Ford Motor Company, General Motors, Chrysler, you got so many billions of dollars going to need to be invested in autonomous cars. There's no rational thought that we're going to spend more money developing the V8s that are currently available. So, you know, if you like those cars, I think the good news for the aftermarket is they're not going to have to keep changing with that. And that party's not going to end. That passion's going to be there. But you're going to have a predictability for the future of that. And, you know, those cars just are not going to get better than they are today, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it blows your mind if you take a step back and look at how many companies are producing over 400 horsepower in vehicles that you can also daily drive and get decent mileage out of. Like, it is absurd, but also what a great time.
I mean, new Mustang, that car runs 12-to-1 compression, and then you can just buy a supercharger and bolt it on. You know, when I was growing up, you want to do that, you had to tear the motor down and go back to 7.5-to-1 compression, then drive to the airport to get fuel. You know?
I mean, it's a big, if you look at it, it's a big jump in a relatively short amount of time, you know? Brad, how about for you? Where do you see customization, and certainly companies, we've seen the changes with Amazon when you talk about that cell phone store. I mean, there's so many things that are on that front. For you and your business, where do you feel like it's moving?
Well, obviously technology-based is going to be huge. The electric movement is here. But for us, really in the commercial world anyway, for the large fleet accounts, the barrage of new vehicles. I mean, we've got the Ford Transits that are coming out, the ProMasters. You know, GM's going to introduce theirs. That's a big deal for us. And some of the, you know, the Weather Guards here and the Cargo Masters, they've got some killer products. Now, not as glamorous as superchargers, but the demand is there, and the large fleets are buying them. They are buying them now.
I had a guy come over and show me a wheel fit product the other day. I'm building a LS-powered 911, so I'm making a lot of friends around the world with that one. That's a joke. I'm not. I didn't know how aggressive Porsche people could be until I pulled an air-cooled out of one, stuck a GM Performance 525 horse LS3 in there. But it was fascinating. He also had a mobile mounting business, and the way that they could cram in a Sprinter van that technology that takes some shops their entire lives to get a machine of this sort of quality. You start to realize that accessibility and mobility in all of these industries is changing so much that really, like, that ability to go to your customer and serve them however they might be at work or wherever, it's crazy how much that has changed in this world. It's not just, you know, a mobile detail, but so many things under that sun have changed and affected that.
While in Dallas, I went to see JR Custom Auto Shop here, and they're doing Mercedes Sprinters, and probably Brad does the same thing. I walk in there, there's a CNC machine that's cutting out the wood panels, and, you know, and I'm like, that's wood and technology right in the same spot. And, but so that is the appearance, both internal and external. I think body kits and, you know, I mentioned air design, but they can take that. They have a kit on a Ranger. That thing's only been on the street a month, and that's only because of technology like computer design and CAD/CAM design. So as that evolves, I'm a Ford dealer, and I can't tell if that's an Escape or a Kia coming at me. You know, like, they all look the same. So people are going to need to personalize those vehicles on an appearance-wise, and that technology is here now to do that. And I don't know if Brad would agree with me on that. But by the way, I may talk a good game, the sexy supercharged Mustang. Those Transits are my bread and butter. So I know. We need guys like you.
Right.
That's awesome. And even the commonality thread between these two, Jim Carson, Brad Barhorse. Guys, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Go Ford Racing.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
No problem.